The Queen Mary 2, the world's last great ocean liner. The QM2. Are your impressions about the ship correct? Everything you think it is, but maybe she isn't. Welcome back to the Ritzy Travel Guide, and this edition we're in for an absolute treat. We're on a cruise aboard the Queen Mary 2, the greatest ocean liner of them all. Over the years, a lot of people have considered a cruise with Cunard, but haven't gone ahead because they're just unsure if it's too stuffy, too formal, or too posh. Would the entertainment be just too boring? So to answer those questions once and for all, we booked a cruise aboard the Queen Mary 2. We'll be taking you all over the ship, top to bottom, covering exactly what you'd like to know. How good is the food? Is she still the most elegant and timeless ship at sea? Will you fit in with the dress codes in the formal setting? Who's the typical cruiser aboard? And most importantly of all, is the Queen Mary 2 right for you? We'll tell you what to expect from each restaurant.
We have to go upstairs for more desserts.
What leisure activities they offer. What you can do on bad weather days. Okay, so get a comfortable chair, a drink and some nibbles and come along for the journey. From the very moment you get aboard, you know that Queen Mary 2 is a very different experience from every other cruise line out there. You're immediately transported back to a bygone era. You feel as though you've been whisked back to the 1920s. The decor, the ornate ceilings and the chandeliers. The grand lobby and staircases meander throughout the centre of the ship. Deck 2 and Deck 3 are the heartbeat of Queen Mary 2, and where you find the majority of the restaurants, shops and bars. The corridors are adorned with paintings and rich colours. The bars around the ship are no less dramatic, with swooping chandeliers, gorgeous drapes and decor, and the ambiance is elegant and charming. We'll go through the various bar options in a moment, but suffice to say there are several options, each with a different theme. So let's take a look at the features of the Queen Mary 2 so you can decide if it's the ship for you and you'd like to book some cruise tickets aboard. Perhaps the room that most sums up the essence of the ship is the Queen's Room. It's an absolute beauty.
This music sounds fun. Let's go and hunt it down. We're in the Queen's Room. All the dancing people are out. Dancing shoes on, best foot forward. It's loud and brassy and jazzy. Everybody's sashaying their way across the floor.
Apart from ballroom dancing, the Queen's Room on the Queen Mary 2 is also synonymous with afternoon tea. And at exactly 3:30 p.m, you will hear the music strike up as the waiters parade in with afternoon tea on the silver platters.
Chocolate banana cream mousse, apple tart, and key lime pie.
The chocolate would be great, thank you. I had a key lime pie at lunchtime, so that would be gluttony.
Sir, for you?
Smoked salmon, please.
Sorry, sir?
Smoked salmon.
Okay, so that's the first box ticked. The enigmatic Queen's Room and the formal areas of the ship are still looking beautiful. So let's now go through the various aspects of the ship one by one. On all Cunard ships, the cabin grade you book determines the main dining room you use. Broadly speaking, if you book an inside cabin, a sea view, or a balcony cabin, then you will dine in the Britannia room. If you book a Prince's Suite or Queen Suite, then you will dine in their respective grill restaurants. So, starting our tour of the various dining rooms aboard the Queen Mary 2, perhaps the most enigmatic and well-known is the Britannia Room, where the vast majority of passengers will dine. Before you enter, you already have a feeling of being swept in from the grand foyer. With its gorgeous ceiling and feature-sweeping staircases, it's a real looker. If you opt for assigned seating, either early or late, you will dine on the lower level too. If you prefer open-time dining, you will be steered towards level 3. You can book your dining time on the app and then join the virtual queue, or just arrive and take your turn. The menus are the same no matter which level you get seated at. We really enjoyed the look and feel of it. It's timeless Cunard. And a lot of the tables have lovely views out to sea. Do note though that the seats are very close to each other, so even if you request a table for 2, you will be inches away from the table next to you. So to get the best feel for the Britannia Room, let's take a look at Gala Night, when everybody is guaranteed to be dressing up. The Chart Room is a great bar to come to both before dinner and after dinner for a drink. It's got a lovely relaxed ambiance, often has a live band, and very comfortable seats. And this leads directly through to the Champagne Bar, another beautiful room.
Always quite magnificent on gala formal nights when everybody's dressed up looking their best. They've even got the candelabra out for the occasion. How about that? Take it up a notch. Famous now, famous. And here we are, the gala evening. Black and white is the theme. Dressed accordingly. Cheers is the gala evening on Queen Mary 2. A lovely window view. And in case you're wondering about the dinnerware, it is all Wedgwood china. And just the attention to the finer details, the salt and pepper pot. Can't remember the last time I felt one that felt so heavy as that. And we're starting off tonight's dinner with a mushroom risotto. Well, I have to say it's actually very tasty, with a pea veloute and a very nice truffle mushroom flavour to it. Okay. It's arrived. So we had the beef Wellington on this front, and over here we have sole and shrimps in a buttery sauce with asparagus. The taste is good. Crispy stroke soft in the middle, and the sauce is a nice wine reduction jus. Okay, time for desserts. I'm mindful of this prune and Armagnac sticky toffee pudding, and I don't like prunes, but I've gone for the sticky toffee prune pudding. Well, against the odds, apparently I like prunes. I never thought I was a prune person.
It's carrot at the bottom and cheese at the top.
Little drops. It is the in-chef thing to do. Little droplets of sauce. Petit fours incoming.
Passion fruit with
Truffles. Meringues.
And that's the good thing about cruises. If what you have isn't sufficient, you just go somewhere else to try.
And this is one of the desserts we went off to have in one of our favourite spots on the ship. More on that later. So that was the Britannia Dining Room, and as you can see, passengers absolutely love to dress up for it. Not just on gala evenings, but on most other evenings, people welcome the opportunity to dress quite formally. Okay, we've not seen the outside of the Queen Mary 2 yet. Let's go and take a look round. So So we have to remember the ship is primarily designed for the transatlantic crossings and world voyages, where the weather can get a bit touch and go. So the deck space is designed accordingly, meaning less pools than a traditional Mediterranean or Caribbean cruise liner.
A very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, from me, Captain Asim Hashmi, and on behalf of all of us at the Cunard Line, may I wish you a very warm welcome aboard the Queen Mary 2.
Now, in theory, the swimming pools are in action. The covers are off, they have cleaned it. Will we see anybody in them?
And the pool area does get busy during the sail away party.
Truly is going to be a celebration. We are so glad to have you here with us. We look forward to seeing you around the ship, but let's let the celebrations continue.
There's also a full promenade deck. We're just going to show you a little bit of the circuit here because we have a full video on the whole promenade deck in real time. You can watch that video separately.
Now, there is a little driving range on board. There we go. Wouldn't say it's huge, but it's here. Golf clubs, bag, mat, target.
And if the weather gets too cold or inclement, there's the indoor pool area with its closed glass roof, as well as ping pong tables and a small bar and snack counter. Okay, feeling tired after all those exhaustions on deck and the exercises, and feeling like some food? Well, the Queen Mary 2 has a pub, the Golden Lion Pub. And it's extremely popular, even more so during sea days when it serves a traditional pub food lunch. And the good news is there's no surcharge to pay, it's included in the fare. The menu features a lot of your expected pub grub. Pies, fries, chicken tikka, which is practically British these days, ploughmans, cottage pies, and desserts.
I'm fish and chips. Oh, look at that. Oh, look. Hang on, let's do the crispy test. Let's put the knife through the fish and chips and do the crispy test. This is like that crunch. And a bit of oil, but crunch.
Others at our table had the bangers and mash. My wife ordered the Angus beef pie, which she really enjoyed.
The inside of that pie looks very good, very juicy. A lot of meat in that. And I have to say, the cod really has been excellent. The batter is excellent. Good job, Queen Mary 2. Look at that dessert with some bright yellow custard.
So we really did enjoy our meal at the Golden Pub. It makes a great change to the main dining rooms, but remember, get there early. So as we've seen, the Queen Mary 2 doesn't just have formal outlets. In addition to the pub, it also has some great bars and a nightclub. Every night there's a live band and dancing, and occasionally a silent disco. That was so popular, it was packed out. So the entertainment isn't anywhere near as old-fashioned or stuffy as you might think. The Queen Mary 2 has a beautiful theatrical venue called the Royal Court in vibrant deep red colours. Like the rest of the ship, it's going for a vintage look, harking back to a bygone era. Every evening there'll be a show. On our most recent cruise, we had a comedian, a violinist, Motown band, opera singers, as well as the ship's entertainers. Now the Queen Mary 2 does have an almost unique venue on board, and that's a planetarium, which hands down has to be one of the prettiest venues I've ever seen on a cruise ship.
Here is the amazing Illuminations Planetarium. Part-time cinema, part-time lecture hall, and part-time looking at the stars, stargazing. This has to be one of the prettiest facilities I've seen at sea. Absolutely gorgeous room.
Now remember to subscribe to our channel, because apart from this review of the ship, we have several other videos coming out, covering fascinating insights into how the ship ticks and what may intrigue and interest you. So what haven't we covered so far? I know you're practically shouting at the screen, it's the buffet. People often ask, what's the buffet like aboard the Queen Mary 2? So here's a typical lunch and what was on offer that day. To my mind, it's a far superior buffet experience than just about any other cruise line buffet for this price point. There's an infinite amount of cuisine on offer. And yes, whilst it's nice to go to the main dining room and having a formal sit down, it's good to know that if you don't feel like it or you're in a hurry, then the quality of cuisine is not going to be lowered in the buffet. It really is of a good standard. The room itself is large, spacious and well laid out. We never felt cramped or found it difficult to navigate.
Have some pear flambe on the go. That looks quite good.
At all meal times there was coffee and tea on offer, as well as a few fountain carbonated drinks. Once again, if you want far more information on the buffets aboard, we have a dedicated video for that. You know where to see the links. Whilst we were aboard the Queen Mary 2, we tried to play a little game and discover some of the more out-of-the-way, unusual and quirky places on the ship. And trust me, there are quite a few tucked away. First off, see if you can spot the card room.
To go to the Atlantic room, first of all, you go through the loo. To go, which is the loos,
You do, to get to the card room.
to the card room.
It's just weird. It's like the Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. We have found a portal to another zone of the ship that's in a parallel universe. And absolutely nobody has found the room. How many marks for the ship layout? Not many. Okay, next to the laundrette you have the observation deck. Who thought of that layout? To come to the laundrette, to go to the observation deck. See if it's any good. Oh, very small observation deck. Not the world's largest.
Well, have you observed anything yet?
You can observe. You're next to the ship's lighthouse. I would not stare into that light at night. You would lose your sight fairly instantly. Part 165, finding unusual sections of QM2, the scenic elevator.
Wow.
When was this last used?
It's actually quite a spacious deck.
Let's go down as far as we can. It is the most obscure, weird layout. You have to go like this, up there. To go from here to here to here, you just don't go in a straight line. It's three-dimensional chess to
Must
get
I
round.
say that I went through the loo to go to the Atlantic room?
Is this the only place on board the ship they say this? You are welcome to smoke in the room. And this is the Churchill's cigar room, just off the Commodore Lounge, deck 9, right at the front of the ship. There we are, all behind the cabinets, the various selections. And you can smell the cigars. Years worth of humidor essence. As we speak, it's 10:30 in the morning. Not many cigar smokers. Maybe cigar smoking is an evening occupation. Now, I'm not a cigar smoker, so I don't know why a paintbrush is here. If you are a cigar smoker, please tell me I'm being an absolute Philistine and the reason for having a paintbrush. Or perhaps the maintenance guys just left it behind. Not sure. Leave a comment. And here's the great man himself, Winston Churchill. I really have no idea how often this room gets used. Is it from a bygone era? Well, here we are in the Carinthia Lounge, which is on deck 7, and it's an alternative lunch venue to the King's Court buffet, which is just in that direction. And you know what? I like the vibe in here. You've got comfortable seats, you've got musical accompaniment. It's more of a club or a lounge, and they have a light buffet over there, where you have a selection of Italian-style antipasto, a little bit Greek, a little bit Italian.
Thank you.
Now, the Carinthia does also have a small, light selection of buffet items. Let's take a look. We really enjoyed the Carinthia Lounge, as it's much quieter than the main buffet. And whilst the offering is smaller, we feel it's an upmarket and more gourmet selection of foods on offer. It's a nice bistro-y vibe to it. So let's check out the food. First one, all three of these are very popular. This one absolutely flies off the shelf. As quickly as they can put them down, people take them. This is a macaroni cheese. That is really a very good macaroni cheese.
And I like the fact that Carinthia has different foods to the King's Court. There's no point just duplicating having the same things. You don't get anything like this. In fact, in any of the other restaurants, there is no Italian restaurant on board.
Now, while some people like the choice available in the extensive buffet, here what you get is a more refined buffet where the offerings are plated, making it more Spanish style and a little bit more.
Very prettily presented. Okay, in the name of research and no other reason whatsoever, I felt it was important to try these two rather delicate, rather cute little jam jar desserts. We've got lemon curd and a caramel and biscuit base cream bottom. Yumminess. I feel like I'm in a Victorian kitchen where a cook has just made it. That was very, very good. Is that edible? No. No, that's not edible.
So if you have a rainy or a blustery day on the Queen Mary 2, what's there to do inside? What's the other entertainment? Well, first off, you can get some exercise in a dance class, offered twice a day, every day in the Queen's Room. It's almost mesmerising. And if that's way too much effort, you can channel the inner Harry Potter in you and head towards the library. It's reputedly the largest library at sea. Rows and rows of books. There's also some computers to use from about 1998. And they even sell gifts, just like a bookstore on shore. Oh, and lions. How sweet. And there is a casino, although smallish by American standards. It was closed for the duration of our cruise, but it's a swish-looking casino and fits right into the decor of the ship. You can imagine gamblers of years gone by. And if you get really bored with your sea days, you can head off to the laundrette because it's free and included in the fare.
Well, here's a place we don't visit very often. It's the laundrette. For those who want to know what sort of laundry facilities do you get in the QM2, we've got a whole load of drying machines. 1, 2, 3, 4, one of them out of order. We've got a whole load of washing machines. One.
So what haven't we covered yet? The cabins. Whilst we were on board our latest cruise, we spent some nights on an inside cabin and the balance on a sea view cabin so we could get a feel for both of them. First, the inside cabin. It's reasonably spacious, but yes, it is a little dated. The ship is now 20 years old and the trim is a bit yesteryear. That being said, the beds are comfortable and the linen is soft. I would say the cabin size is pretty much on par with most other cruise ships. Because the ship is 20 years old, I'm afraid you won't get latest connections such as USB sockets. You'll have to bring your own. The cabins come with the usual British want, a kettle. Hanging space is reasonable. We were able to store all of our cases easily inside. And there's also a safe. And there is still the chocolate turn-down service alive and well on Cunard. Not huge, but the thought is there. Now let's take a look at the ocean view cabin. Okay, cabin review aboard the Queen Mary 2 for the ocean view cabin. There's similar decor to inside cabins. Still got nice plush monogrammed cushions. And a small 2-seat sofa. Several desk drawers. And lots more drawers. And a hairdryer. And a small minibar. Again, there's a ship's TV where you can watch the cruise director.
There we go, being phased out on some cruise lines, but still here, live and kicking with Cunard, is the daily cruise director's TV channel. There you are, you can keep totally up to date.
Hanging space is roughly the same as the inside cabin, as well as the safe and a kettle. The bathroom is also very similar to the inside cabin. Now, we'd never forgive ourselves if we didn't tell you about the most decadent place to have tea on board Queen Mary 2, and it's not necessarily where you think. Actually, it's Sir Samuel's, where they stock Godiva chocolates. We popped in one afternoon and had the most unctuous, decadent chocolate cake and coffee. We're at the Sir Samuel's, a very nice little afternoon spot to have some caramel chocolate truffle fudge cake. They have beautiful Sicilian lemon tarts, a whole range of chocolates and cookies, but we couldn't get past having the most chocolate we could. To our mind, it's the best chocolate on board. I tell you what, I can still taste that Godiva chocolate. Absolutely delicious. So when we booked our cruise aboard the Queen Mary 2, it was the first time in many years we'd been aboard a Cunard ship. So not to say there was any trepidation, but there was a certain unknown quantity whether we really were doing the right thing. Were the online comments about the ships looking old and haggard and past their best and past their glory days, were these true? Having now been on this cruise, I think a lot of the online comments are slightly unfair. The ship really is still looking absolutely beautiful. Was there the occasional lick of paint that was needed here or there? Possibly, but it didn't in any way affect the overall look and ambiance of the ship. The Queen Mary 2 is still looking absolutely beautiful. So going back to the various questions we posed at the beginning of the video, let's go through them. First of all, who's the typical passenger? Yes, undoubtedly, it is those who are looking for the more traditional style of cruising. Those who like to dress up, want to dress up, and wanting a ship to look timeless and elegant. So in that sense, you've booked the right cruise. Cunard is absolutely going to be for you. Now, concerning whether it was stuffy, I would say absolutely not. There are so many live venues around the ship, such as the G20. All the other venues have a range of music. In terms of cuisine, absolutely met our expectations. Dining in the main Britannia restaurant was nice, and if you didn't feel like dressing up for that, then the main buffet, the King's Court, also served very good food. So who is this cruise aimed at? I would say the vast majority of people. If you're 18, then no. Pretty much anybody else, I think there really is a lot in it for you. In days gone by, Cunard was considered an expensive option. However, if you look at the listings online now, some of the prices are an absolute steal for the service being given. So if you get a chance to snag a deal on the Queen Mary 2 or any of the other Cunard ships, I would 100% go for it. It's not a compromise, it's a positive decision to go on one of today's all-round ships that combine elegance and a great level of service. Now, we haven't had time to cover all aspects of the ship in this video, so please go and look at our playlist which we're adding to daily, showcasing many of the different aspects of the Queen Mary 2. You can watch these two videos right now, and thank you so much for joining us on the Ritzy Travel Guide. We'll see you in those and over coming weeks and months.